Welcome to week 4 in managerial accounting. Hope everything is going well so far this semester. So in week 4, the title of the week is strategic cost management. So I think it's important that we start out by talking about what is strategy. So when we talk about strategy, we really talk about the work that's been led by Michael Porter since the late 1990s. He's still around and he's still very influential when it comes to talking about what strategy is. And so his definition is it's a competitive strategy is about being different. It means deliberately choosing a different set of activities to deliver a unique mix of value. The essence of strategy is in the activities, choosing to perform activities differently or to perform different activities better than rivals. And he goes on to explain that firms have to choose between two strategies. You can either be a cost leader or you can be a differentiator. And that can be true at either the product or the service level in both cases. You need to choose which you're going to be. You can't be both in his view. He calls that being stuck in the middle. So you either recognize that you are in a cost leadership position with your products or services, or you're an organization that focuses on differentiation or being different with their products or services. So if you're a cost leader, then your goal is to provide the same or better value to customers at a lower cost than that offered by competitors. And there's an example given here. A company might redesign a product so that fewer parts are needed, lowering production cost and the cost of maintaining the product after purchase. So you might think of companies like Walmart or Southwest Airlines or Dell Computer. These are cost leaders in their field. Differentiators are firms and organizations that strive to increase customer value by doing something better or different. And so think about Apple Computer. Think about some custom products like a Tesla automobile, where people are buying the value above and beyond the price. So in these particular organizations, there might be a lot of focus on research and development, might be a focus on enhanced customer value, it might be superior repair services and the like, but there's something that makes you different and customers are willing to pay a premium for it. So in Porter's view, we need to think about what it is that our products or services do and then focus on that particular aspect. So if we're going to differentiate, then we're going to have a certain set of management protocols and practices that allow the organization to think creatively and to add superior value to the customers. If we're going to be focused on cost leadership, then we have to be very tight about how we run the operations. And everything has to be about eliminating non-value added activities from the customer's perspective. So there were two people that wrote an article called Strategic Cost Management, and that was John Shank and Vijay Govindarayan. And they really influenced the thinking of the management accounting world. And basically what their hypothesis and findings were that the traditional accounting methods and approaches, while working fine in some cases, were missing some key elements, and they called this the strategic elements of managerial accounting. And they broke that up into 3 major elements. They broke it up into strategic position analysis, value chain analysis, and cost driver analysis. And when they talk about strategic position analysis, they're basically referring to what Porter talks about, which is understanding whether your product, your service, your organization is a cost leader or is it a differentiator. And then you can build your management practices, protocols, and principles around what position you're in. And a lot of companies get stuck in the middle, so you want to make sure that you clearly define which approach you're going to take, and then put the management policies and procedures in place to follow that. The next idea is this idea of cost driver analysis, and that's really to understand what's driving my costs. and how do I influence those costs? And so it's not enough just to understand cost after we've already committed to them, but we really have to start to think about cost before we commit to them. So we make major strategic decisions. We decide to develop a new product, start a new school, put a new wing on the hospital. Well, that's going to drive significant cost in our cost structure. So we need to be involved in those decisions early on. We need to think about the scale and scope of our operation. Do we want to make it internally, or do we want to buy it out, buy it from somebody else? And so every one of these decisions has an influence on our ongoing cost structure, our flexibility, and we need to make sure that we understand that both in the present and in the long term. And then the other concept that they've pushed is this idea of a value chain analysis. And to simplify this, what this really means is that we think about the entire value chain from the inception of the product until the customer consumes it, and think about how we can make that the most efficient and highest quality and lowest cost to the customer. So historically, when we thought about producing a product or service, we think about the internal operations of our organization, how we manufacture a product, how we deliver a service in a healthcare organization. But we also have to think about our relationship with our suppliers and the ease of use on the part of our customers, and look across the entire value chain. So there's an example given here of a paper products industry. So the historical model would have been to look just within the manufacturing process of this paper company. But in the value chain analysis, we're going to look all the way back to the root of the product and all the way down to the end use of the customer, and understand the entire value chain and try to make each element of this value chain as efficient and high quality as we can, so that we continuously improve the product and the process for our customers. And when we do that, we're going to gain a significant competitive advantage. So going back to the thinking here, there's really, when we talk about strategic cost management, we're really talking about, understanding where we are strategically, making sure that we understand what drives our cost, and then also making sure that we understand the value chain and optimizing the value chain. So some other things that are mentioned in this week's discussion is the balanced scorecard. So the balanced scorecard comes about from the thinking that historically the managerial accounting world and the planning process has really been focused on the financial aspect, how much profit, how much revenue, and so forth. But what that does is that it puts the organization out of balance. So to get into balance, what Kaplan and Norton suggested is that we need to think about 4 dimensions. And those 4 dimensions are summarized in this slide. So we need to continue to look at the financial perspective, but we also have to look at our internal processes. What are the key processes that we need to be the best at, and making sure that we invest in those and making sure that those are operating at the way that we need them to. So if I'm for example, a Starbucks delivering coffee to people, it's essential that we have a certain service protocol, and that our internal processes really work the way that our customers expect them. And we also have to invest in organization learning and growth, right? Because we know that no organization stands still. And part of being successful in business today, whether we're in a for-profit or non-profit, is that we need to continue to learn and grow as an organization. And then just as importantly, and perhaps most importantly, is to think about what's important to the customer and what drives the customer behavior, what makes the customer happy, and making sure that we do all the things that help the customer gain the maximum amount of satisfaction from our product or service. And so when we think about these 4 dimensions, what we want to think about these as we would as a dashboard on a vehicle, and that we want to look at, for each of these 4 quadrants, what are the key metrics that we want to keep track of so that we can ensure that our customers are happy, that we're meeting our financial objectives, that our business processes are working as intended, and that we're learning and growing as we need to. So customers might be customer satisfaction scores, financials might be sales growth and profit growth, business processes might be that we deliver our products or services within a certain time frame, and so forth. but we need to, pick out those metrics that will give us a good indicator that we're continuing to progress each of these 4 perspectives. So there's some key strategic decisions, questions that we have to ask, and what markets will we compete? How will we position ourselves within these markets? What will be the basis for our competitive advantage? And what specific people, processes, and other resources are necessary to successfully compete. So I've talked about value chains, and in the reading that I gave you talks extensively about value chain, but the focus is both external and internal. So traditionally, we were really internally focused. Now we want to think about our suppliers and our customers, and we want to eliminate all the non-value added activities, continue to improve every step in the process, improve quality, lower costs simultaneously. It can and must be done to be successful in any business operation. Okay, so, and then the other thing, which we'll come back to this topic later in the semester, but I'm just going to throw the idea out here right now, which is target costing. So target costing, we talk about pricing, and we're going to talk about target pricing and target costing. But one of the key strategic things that we need to start to think about is what price should we set and how do we determine the price? And one of the traps that companies and organizations sometimes fall into is that they base their price based on cost. And while cost is important, we also have to look at what the market need is. And so the market need over the long term, we can arrive at by talking to our customers, doing a market analysis, and then coming back and making sure that our products or services will fit within that price bandwidth. And so that's the idea of target costing and target pricing, which we will come back to.